Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. Thanks for stopping by. I am making a couple of cards today. I'm using the Elephantastic stamp set from Whimsy Stamps, and you can see I've got a couple of these elephants colored up on my desk there. I'm going to make a 5.5-inch square card, and I wanted to use this piece of paper from the Blurry Flurries paper pack. And I wanted to make a heart, but I didn't have a die big enough for this 5.5-inch square card. So I've just folded a piece of copy paper there, and I'm just roughly sketching in half a heart shape, and then I sort of fine-tuned that a little bit, and then I'm going to cut it out. So I've drawn that right on the fold line so that when you open it, it's a full heart. And it will fit just barely onto my card. So to do this now, to cut it out of this pattern paper, I could either trace it on the front, or if you trace it on the back, you don't have to worry about your pencil lines and erasing it. So that's exactly what I'm doing there, just drawing it on the back, and then I'll cut that out to get my heart shape. And then I was having a look at this and thought, well, it's kind of boring in the background. I've got my elephants, but I felt like I needed something a little bit more for this card. So I've got the that's the Fun with Words 1 die set, and it has this one little die on it that makes these hearts. And so I've just taken a scrap piece of white cardstock, and I've made a stencil. And I'm going to color in through that with some Catherine Pooler ink. And I did a little line on the top and bottom, and now I've got this Distress grit paste in Snowfall, and as you can see, I'm pretty much out, and it's very dry. But I was using it anyway. I've got some more coming in the mail, but of course it's not here, so I couldn't use it, and I'm determined to use up what I've got here. So I'm just pushing that through my stencil, and then I set that aside to dry. Now I've put some foam tape on the back of my heart, and I'm going to pop it up on my card, and then I've just glued the bottom of this elephant. And I do come back in after and put some foam tape in behind his ear because he's extending quite a ways past. So I'm a bit off camera here, but that's all I'm doing there is adding a bit of foam tape in behind him. And then I had all these little white hearts punched out from making that stencil, so I've added those to the background. And I've used the Cutie ABC die set to cut the words love you, and I stacked those up 2 or 3 times. And so that was my first card, which is super quick and easy. Now for the second card, I'm using the same stamp set. I've got a scrap piece of pink cardstock here, and it's fairly sturdy, and I've got some color burst powders. So I've got the Cherry Bomb from Nouveau, Alizarin Crimson from Brusho, and from Cosmic Shimmer, Pixie Sparkles, I've got the Heavenly Hues. Now I'm just misting my piece of cardstock on both sides, and that will help prevent it from curling, because you really don't want this to curl up as you sprinkle this on. So I'm just tapping on, that's the Cherry Bomb from Nouveau, adding a bit of water, and you can see how those colors just burst and spread. Now this one, this is the Heavenly Hues from Cosmic Shimmer, Pixie Sparkles. It's got a bit more blue and purples and pinks mixed into it, and it has quite a bit of mica in it. So you can start to see those colors spread a little bit when I add the water. And then this Alizarin Crimson from Brusho is quite an intense color. I'm not putting a lot of this on, but it made a really pretty pattern as it burst, and you'll see that here. So it's just really spreading out. So I set all that aside to dry, and this is how it ended up in the end. I did use my heat gun, which isn't always the best, but I was impatient. And now I'm using that same heart, and I wanted to cut out the really fun parts of my paper, but it's a little tricky. Now you could draw on that way, but what I prefer to do is put it in behind, and then you need to put a light in behind. So I've got a desk lamp that I sort of angled in behind, and you can see the heart through it. So I could see which parts of my color burst paper were going to be in the heart. And that was how I was deciding where to put it. And then I just flipped it over and traced around it on the back. So save that scrap, because that makes great die cuts or more hearts, whatever you need. I've got a couple of these elephants again colored up. Now this one here, I want to make it a slide and pull piece. So I've left a bit of cardstock down below and a bit above. And I've used this RV17 Copic marker to sort of color in the bottom. It sort of matched my heart fairly well. Now up above there you can see I've drawn a pull tab just in the center of the heart up at top. And I'm positioning it here. I'm sort of trying to see where that heart narrows down because I don't want to go too low because it'll stick out. So I'm just going to draw a line right across that point, and that's as low as this pull-up will be. And then I just use my trimmer to cut a nice straight edge for that, and for the top one as well, for that pull tab that I've penciled in up at the top. And then I use my scissors to fussy cut, and I cut right up on the outline of that elephant and around the top pull tab. Now I'm pointing out here, you want the bottom to be as wide as the widest part, and that is the ear on this side of the elephant. So I drew that line straight down from the ear, and on this side it's his paw that's on the outside, so I drew straight down from the paw. Now I'm just going around with a black marker to color in that white core, and then I used my scissors to just trim around those corners on the pull tab. My corner chomper wouldn't fit in there, so I went manually. Now I've got two little scraps of cardstock, and these are going to be stoppers on the bottom. Now I like to use two of them. I'm just going to glue this to the bottom there. They need to be wider than the actual pull tab itself because they are what will stop it from coming right out of the whole card. So you can see it's a little bit wider on each side, and I do use two. I find that makes it a bit more sturdy, and it's a bit thicker for catching on the bumper. So I'm just putting another piece on the other side of that. And now here I am pushing this down as far down as it's going to go, and you can see that my stopper pieces will show a little bit because of the angle of that heart, so I'm just trimming those off just inside that line. You'll see in a minute here how it goes. So you can see it's just trimmed inside the edge of that heart. And at this point I'm now pulling it up as high up as I want it to go. I don't want it to go any higher than that because it'll show the stopper. So I'm just going to tack that in place. And then when I flip this over, we need to put bumpers. Now these are going to go right above where that stopper that we added ends up. And that's going to be what the stopper catches against. So you can see that foam tape is right up against where the stoppers end up. And then when I slide this down, we need a track now. So the track has to be at the widest part, which is going to be those stoppers. So I'm putting this piece of foam tape just on the outside of where the stoppers go and straight up. And again on this side, on the outside of that stopper and straight up. And so if I slide this straight up and down, you can see that will move up and down in that track now. Now I'm pulling it down as far down as I want it to go, and I know I'm going to be a little off camera here, but I'm just putting foam tape at the bottom underneath that stopper so it doesn't go any further down into the card and get lost. So that's all that is. You'll see it in a second here. I'm sorry I was off camera. So there's the stopper at the bottom, and the bumper for the of foam pads down at the bottom there. So that's the track for this little elephant to slide in. Now we can fill in all the rest of the heart with foam tape or stacked up pieces of card scraps, whatever you've got. And I just went with the foam tape because I had it out, so that was nice and quick and easy. Now I've written the word pull on the top. If you have a stamp, you could use that. I'm going to put that piece aside for now because I decided I wanted to shape the top of my card. This is kind of an afterthought. So I'm just taking my heart and I'm just going to go draw around it. That's the card base that I'm on there. And I'll show you why I decided to do this in just a second here. Because if you try to pull this up, it's really awkward when it's in the middle of the card and you're going to sort of get a bent pull tab. So if I trim off my card base, and you can see the whole thing is going to be that sort of heart shape, half a heart anyway. Now when I put this together, it's just super easy to pull that pull tab, and it just makes it that much more enjoyable. Now for the bottom, I'm using that swirl stencil just to add a bit of interest, and I've got some Liquitex Gloss Heavy Gel here. I love this gel. It dries translucent but very glossy, so, and you can add whatever colors you want. So I'm going to add the Cosmic Shimmer Pixie Sparkles in Heavenly Hues, the same color I used earlier. And you can see I'm just tapping some on into the Liquitex gel. I don't add any water, just the moisture from the gel itself will activate those sparkles. And so I'm mixing that around, and I will spread that right onto my card front through that stencil. And whatever you have left over, I did have some left over, I just put on a scrap piece of cardstock, set that aside to dry, and it's great for die cuts. So now that that's dried, it's very glossy and shiny, I can now put my heart back on. So to do that, I'm going to put my little elephant in the track, and I like to start this part way up the track so the stoppers are in the actual side track itself. And I tack this down. Now make sure you tack it on the front or you won't be able to untack it once you've attached this down. So I'm going to remove all the release paper from the foam tape. I've got my elephant in position, and I'm just going to tack this or attach this down now to my card front. Trying to make sure I get it lined up fairly well. Give it a good press. Make sure the foam tape is caught, and then you can remove that low tack tape and play with the pull-up, which is really quite fun now. So he pulls up nice and straight if I make it go straight. And I just thought that was a fun element for the card. So I'm going to glue my other little elephant on. And to finish up the card, I took that little flower that came from the Hello Bear stamp set. It's just this little flower there. I just felt it needed a little something more. And I've used the Cutie ABCs again for that love you sentiment. There's the little guy pulling up. Just a heart full of elephants. And on the inside, I used the third stamped image in that set, and he's just throwing confetti. Little heart confetti, which of course came from that same piece of paper that we created and used the Fun with Words die set for that. So there you go, 2 cards. They could be for Valentine's, they could be an anniversary card, they could just be a pick-me-up card for somebody going through a tough time. So I hope that's given you some inspiration, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you'll come back for the next one. Bye.